Hello, my name is Eric, and on this episode, I want to talk about the piers, the New York City piers in 1970s, mainly 1979, and all the crazy sexual stuff that was going on the piers. Welcome to the craziness that lives inside my head. Now, I was born and raised in New York, mainly in Brooklyn, and New York was, I guess, had a lot of factory jobs. Most of the people in my family, my mother, my grandmother, even my father, and a lot of people that I know growing up, worked in factories. So in the 70s, basically, I would say maybe to the mid 70s, when the disco really was taken off, most of those factories were gone. I think New York became bankrupt. New York was bankrupt in the 70s. The factories left. And a lot of these factories had warehouses, I guess you could call it, on the piers. So when they left these empty warehouses on the piers, which is on the Hudson River on the west side of Manhattan. So we all know how gay people were back then, especially gay men. Any place in the 70s, it was any place you can find to to have sex, you found it to have sex. And I'm going to be very honest with you. The piers, having sex on a pier, especially at night, after midnight or after the bars close, was very risky. And a lot of gay men were into risky sex. I wasn't one of them. But this was 1979. And I remember, of course, I was in the village. You know, you go bar hopping in the village from I guess Sneakers to what was it? Sneakers, Peter Rabbit. Work your way uptown to Chelsea. By the time you get to Chelsea, there's Eagle Nest and the Spike, and they closed down. And of course, it's one of those nights like almost every other night. I didn't get any. I couldn't score, as they say. So I've heard about the Piers, which is right there on West Street, and I heard the ones in the Chelsea were the ones where Chelsea around the 21st Street. The Eagle Nest I think was on around the Eagle Nest in the 20s in Chelsea on the Piers. So anyway, I decided to go check it out. You know how it is. You got liquor in your body, you got drugs in your vein, and you're horny. You say, well, let's go check it out. And I remember this night. This is only did it on. This is my first and only night that I ever did this, I think. But the one I remember, this night was pretty spooky because you walk down West Street, and on the side of the river, Hudson River, you had these. A lot of them, some of them were burnt down. They're always broken down, and the front doors was open, so you sneak in there, and it's pitch black, and you can hear sex noise. And I mean by sex noise, sound like guys, having sex. Some guys coming and all, and the pitch blackness. Well, that kind of scared me. I wanted to do it, but then what scared me was I've heard stories about it. I've heard stories of guys cruising in those piers, and those piers were not taken care of. They were rotting down. And one guy, I don't know if it's what they call a urban legend, but all I know is I've heard stories how a guy had fell through the floor into the Hudson River and drowned. That was it. Was it true or not? I don't know. But I wasn't going to go any further. They were having sex in there, and I wasn't going to go any further. Well, that didn't, how do you say, deterred me from hanging out at the piers. I remember the next year, it was the next year, I think, or either the I think it was the fall of 1979, And I went down there and I met a friend. It was on a Sunday. Sundays were beer blast in the village. You had beer blast in the village. So I went to the beer blast and I met a friend and we were talking. Let's go to the piers. Now mine is Sunday and the sun was out. I said, okay. So I went to the piers, the same pier that I went to before in Chelsea, but this time it's different. It's like we went in, it was dangerous. I mean, the beams were falling off the ceiling, and yes, you did have holes in the floor, and you could see the Hudson River. It was really dangerous, but guys was walking. That's a Sunday, so it was more crowdeder than it was that night that I went. And a lot of guys, a lot of gay men found this exciting, I guess. So you go, you walk in, if you see somebody and you meet somebody, and I guess you, wherever you at, I dodge I call it was an obstacle course, from the holes in the floor, from the beams, and guys having sex around and passing guys who, on their knees, giving, blowjobs to other guys. On the other side of that building was the outside the pier, where the pier goes into the water. So I got to that spot. Okay, I was a whore. Yes, I met some guy. He was a Colombian. We fooled around, and that was it. I'm gonna say. Did I go back again? Yes, I did. But I'm gonna be quite honest with you. The it was just too scary, too risky. I mean, there was one even thing. I think the second day I was there, I think somebody did fall into the Hudson River and they got him out. But it was just too ridiculous. It was just too ridiculous. I only the most I could think of going to the piers was like 3 times. And yes, on the second time I did score. The third time scared me. First time I told you at night I didn't go and that scared me. And the last time I went was only 3 times. The fact that I think somebody did fall into the river scared me. So I never went back. I never under that kind of risky sex wasn't really in my veins. But I will tell you this: the guy, the Colombian guy, and I knew he was Colombian because we exchanged. A lot of times they didn't do too much talking in the '70s when they came to sex. I had a friend named Richie used to scream at me, especially if I was at a regular bar would have a back room. You don't have a conversation with anybody. You just get on your knees and you suck cock. That's all. Like, just get on your knees and suck cock. That's all you're about to do. So, but this guy was the second time that I was there at the Piers. We did have a conversation. That's how I knew he was a Colombian. I forgot his name. Well, the moral to this story, if you want to hear this little moral to it, I got a job maybe 6 months later after that incident. I got a job. You heard me talk about Wall Street. I was there on Wall Street with my second day at job, and the guy who I was on my knees giving a blowjob to worked on Wall Street. Anyway, this is Eric, and thank you for listening to the craziness that lives inside my head.